Hello, welcome to the Hampton Law Firm. I'm Jeff Hampton, and today's video we're going to talk about drug lab testing. When we talk about a drug case, how do we know if the drugs were tested properly? How do we even know if the drugs are actually illegal? Thanks for joining us today, and here's the thing. If you'll wait around to the end of this video, I'm going to also make available to you a free ebook, What to Do If You've Been Charged with a Drug Crime in Texas. All right, so today I'm going to talk about the ins and outs of the requirements of labs whenever they're testing drugs, and some specific things that I think your criminal attorney should be looking into if you're facing a drug charge in Texas. Now, first things first, how do I know if the lab tested the drugs properly? How do we know if the drugs are actually illegal? I want to remind you of this. It is not your burden. It's not your burden to have to prove that the labs did everything correctly. The burden to prove that the lab tested the drugs correctly is on the state of Texas, and it must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, there have been some integrity issues in the local labs here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and in some other areas of Texas, where there have been some news stories that have actually come about where some employees made mistakes related to actually testing particular types of vials, whether it be blood draws or when it comes to testing drugs themselves, where it compromised the integrity of the result. And as a result of that, some cases they've had to even go back on and determine whether or not they would have been sufficient to substantiate a conviction for someone who went to trial. So it's very important that if something comes up in your case, you need to have your attorney on a drug case make sure that the lab was certified to do the actual testing, and did the lab follow the protocols in order for the actual test, the integrity of the test to be relied upon. Because sometimes we may be able to determine that if they did not do so, we as the defense can retest those drugs. It may be an opportunity for us to be able to retest them and be able to come to a different conclusion. So one of the areas that sometimes drug labs make mistakes is on the weight of the drug, okay? That's really important, because drug charges are designated on severity level based upon the weight. What if it's very close to, what if on a 1 to 4 grams case, possession 1 to 4 grams, which is normally a third-degree felony, what if it's 1.01 with the lab and we're able to determine that it actually comes back under a gram? You're talking about you could be lowering a felony drug charge to a lesser charge that opens up other opportunities for you to be able to resolve your case. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the actual lab tested the drugs correctly. If they did not, we can do a retest of the drugs. So how do you analyze the lab? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to go over the lab report. We need to see who the actual technician was, who actually did the testing. And then when they took the actual test and we need to find out who they were trained by. Do they have any prior issues of compromising the integrity of samples? Maybe they were trained by someone who had been fired because they had compromised the integrity of some of these samples. This is important because people think, well, that's not a big deal. Sometimes the DA kind of glances over those things, but that's something called exculpatory evidence that could potentially help you in defending your case. So next, we want to look at the actual reputation of the lab itself. Is the lab reputable? Are they certified to do what they did? If they've had problems in the past, what measures did they take to rectify those problems? And are they back to a level where we can actually rely upon the testing that's being done? So all of these concerns need to be examined in your drug case, okay? So if you're facing a drug charge in the Dallas-Fort Worth area here in Texas, and you would like us to answer some of your questions, go over and give you a free case analysis, don't hesitate to call the Hampton Law Firm at 817-877-5200. Promised you if you waited around the end of this, I would give you a free ebook, What to Do If You've Been Charged with a Drug Case in Texas. Don't hesitate to click the link right down here below. Give us your email address. We'll send that right over to you. We look forward to seeing you on our next video series on drug arrests in Texas.